What is going on, everybody? This is Dylan with your weekly gear news update. It's Wednesday, and that's when we do these things. Gear news on Wednesday, live streams on Thursday evening, Q&A deal, and guitar stuff on Monday. So if you like guitar stuff, if you like guitar news, if you like guitar anything, hit the subscribe button, please. That would be amazing. And the like button and the little bell and all that stuff. Let's get into the news. So Mooer Pedals, M-O-O-E-R Pedals, has their line of X2 pedals, and they just expanded the lineup with a preamp pedal. It's kind of interesting. It's got a bunch of more or less amp preamp models in it, sort of, and then it's got a place where you can put third-party impulse responses in it, and it's 2 channels. So it's got 2 buttons on it, channel A and channel B. It's very interesting. I was trying to read about it and figure out how I would implement this, and I don't exactly know, except that you can put it on a pedal board and I think not use an amp and just play direct, which would make sense in a lot of venues these days. I think that's what this is for. I read about it for a while. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know everything about it, but I'll leave a link to it in the description and you can check it out. I'm not sure if you've ever tried to buy a Mutron octave divider, you know, the Octaver, but they're like thousands of dollars because they're super collectible. You can't hardly find them. Pretty cool. Behringer has just come out with one that's like $100. It's got all the same exact knobs. It looks kind of 70s retro-ish and apparently does a pretty good job of getting pretty close to the original spec Mutron. Now obviously it's not going to be as collectible, but if you want to get the sound on the cheap, it's pretty cool. Amplitube, you know, IK Multimedia, they have teamed up with Mesa Boogie to come out with another round of Mesa Boogie amp sims for the Amplitube setup. If you've ever used this, it's actually pretty good, and they are getting better and better at how everything responds to you when you play it. I think it's really cool. Anyway, Mesa Boogie, 4 new amps, 5 new cabs, under $200. And in this week's big news shocker, there's some new Harley Bentons. They're tellies, hardtails, sparkly, looks just like all their other stuff. Super cheap. Again, if you want to be fancy or look fancy and have a lot of guitars that are not expensive, there's your jam. Next. Speaking of other cheap gear that you can buy on Amazon, Joyo. Do you remember earlier in the year, they made a pedal and they called it Moist, which is arguably the most hated word in the English language. Yeah, so they have followed it up with a new little Lunchbox amp. It's called the Meteor 2. Volume, tone, treble, a little bit of gain, little tiny thing, and it's got Bluetooth. So pretty cool. It is not that expensive either, and it's got a little foot pedal, $179. So Lunchbox folks, here's your thing. Lawler has just announced 2 new pickups, which I think is pretty interesting. So they came out with this, what is this thing called, the La Prima, which they went after their tone from the El Rayo, which is a really good humbucker, really good. I love that pickup. And they tried to put it in a mini humbucker. They said that was the original idea, but it didn't really work because you can't do that. You can't make a big pickup sound like a little pickup, or vice versa. It just doesn't work. Anyway, they're like, well, it still sounds good, so we're putting it out. So the La Prima mini humbucker, it is out. They also came out with the BS jazz bass pickup, which I think is hilarious because I know you're thinking what BS stands for, but it actually just stands for blade single, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so there it is, jazz bass pickup in a blade style, which is cool for all you folks trying to do experimental stuff, worried about string spacing and, you know, interesting different builds and whatnot. A blade pickup is a way to get away with that. And yeah, it's gonna sound awesome. Lawler's awesome. They do good stuff. So when I was a kid, we had a record player, you know, vinyl, LPs, like back when they were actually cool, before they were not cool and then they were cool again. And this was like for real, when we actually could buy them at the store, like when records came out. Before cassettes? Remember what cassettes were? Okay, so my favorite record, probably ever, was a Johnny Winter, Edgar Winter, and Rick Derringer live album. Probably one of the main reasons why I love that kind of guitar playing is Rick Derringer and Johnny Winter. They just came out with the Gibson Firebird 5 Johnny Winter guitar. There's not very many of them. They're pretty expensive, obviously, but worth a shot if you can get a hold of one of these, because legendary guitar player, legendary guitar, really pretty. Murphy Labs aged, super cool. Are you gonna do a Rick Derringer Gibson? Because I'd be super stoked on that. In other unobtainium signature model news, a few months ago, everybody was like all up in arms because Dave Mustaine said, I'm leaving Dean and I'm going to Gibson and I'm gonna have a Gibson Flying V signature model guitar. Well, it just came out. They are initially only gonna be available when you call the Gibson store, the phone number on the Gibson store, and be like, hey, I want one of these. And they're gonna say, nope, they're already sold out, probably, because there's not gonna be very many of them. You're gonna have to do that quick. I believe they said a wider release in February 2022, which means pretty soon everybody's gonna have one. But what's really cool about this guitar is obviously it's got the Seymour Duncan pickups in it that they made for this guitar. And also, it's a 25.5-inch scale, which is interesting because obviously Mustaine played the Dean thing. He's used to a long scale, so they had to make him a 25.5-inch scale V. So that's pretty cool. And it's a Dave Mustaine thing. Also, in other news, you could probably get the guitar that he really played on the records on Reverb now. When Gibson announced, I don't know, however many months ago it was, that they were buying Mesa Boogie, many internet armchair people said in many comment sections, oh, they're just gonna ruin Mesa Boogie, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they're coming out with a Gibson line of amps. And when you read the articles about this, I think it's very cool because they're maintaining, Mesa Boogie's gonna keep making amps, but they're coming out with all new circuits, all new builds for Gibson. So they're gonna do Gibson line of amps separate from Mesa Boogie. We'll have to see how this actually works and how it's sold and how they place them relative to each other in the market. That's gonna be an interesting thing to see. But I'm very stoked about this, to have a Gibson brand back on an amp. Obviously, we don't know yet how much they're gonna cost. We don't know any of the details about it, but it is happening. And when you read about this too, the other thing I thought was really cool is it was just a couple of guys talking, and then they ended up buying the company. It was not, we're gonna go power move somebody. It was literally, we're just hanging out and we're talking, allegedly, and decided to buy a company. So I like how this kind of organically happened. I'm really excited to see a Gibson branded amp. Again, we don't know what it means. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I'm obviously used to make amps. So bringing some of those things back, only in 21st century version, who knows? It's gonna be awesome. But it looks like right now, they're not gonna be ruining Mesa Boogie. So at least for now, I'm optimistic. Let me know what you think in the comments. So Monday, we have a really cool video coming out called String Through versus Top Loader. So I took a Telecaster, strung it both ways, played it. Let me know what you think when you watch that video on Monday. If you're a Patreon member or a YouTube member, the little join button down there, you can watch it right now, or wait till Monday and let me know what you think. Can you hear a difference? It's pretty cool. We got a live stream coming out Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, going to answer your questions, which is really kind of fun. And then of course, news again next Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you soon.